Okay, folks, so today I am here with my good friend Karisa Dyce. Welcome, Karisa. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me. Y'all, we are going to talk about this woman. She is super woman. She is my own shero. So we're going to talk about your trek through the Grand Canyon. But before we get to that, I want to tell folks a bit about you. You are a very adventurous person and you're active. You like things like hiking, running, whitewater rafting, just a physical activity in general. So, how did you grow that love for physical activity?
Well, I've always done sports. I've been doing sports since I was about 12 or 13. I've been running since I was about 12 or 13. So I started running track freshman year in high school, and I just never stopped running. I ran track in high school and college, and then I went into the military after college. And then I've just always run. There hasn't been a time where, unless I had an injury or something, where I haven't been running. It's kind of just like a part of my life. So, and then along with running, I got into do other things like hiking, whitewater rafting. Like, I just want to do everything. Like, when people ask, what do you like? I'm like, everything. What do you want to try? Like, everything. So,
yeah, I know you're so adventurous. Like, a lot of the things that you like to do are kind of on the extreme side for an average person. So you mentioned that you have been in the military, and I know that you told me that you've jumped out of planes like a crazy amount of times. It was like, hundreds of times because you were in the military.
Oh, it's not hundreds of times. Well, so I was in the 82nd Airborne, so it's like an airborne unit. So as part of that unit, you have to jump. It's the preference. The reason for the unit is like if we're in war times and we can't like physically land planes, they're supposed to be able to like parachute onto the airfield and like secure a perimeter so they can like land planes, helicopters, or whatever. But that was like back in whenever it started. They don't really use that as much anymore, but it's kind of still like a hardcore thing that people like to do. They have all these big divisions and brigades that do it. So I've jumped probably around 30 something times.
Oh, wow.
And I've done like helicopters, like C-130s, C-40s. I've jumped out of Blackhawks, Chinooks. But it's not like skydiving. Because in skydiving, you're jumping from like 10,000 feet and you're like free falling through the air. We don't jump from that high because you think you want to be like above the tree line. So you don't really get the free fall, like roller coaster type experience. You only free fall for like 4 or 5 seconds and then your chute opens up and then you're going down to the ground.
I mean,
but then you do jump at like night, like wooded areas. So I've like landed in trees before. And yeah.
I mean, to me, I don't care how high you are. You're jumping out of a moving vehicle. Like, all of it is extreme to me, but I love it. I love it. Like, you light up when you start talking about it. I just love that you love that. So I know that you have been planning for a triathlon. Was that 2020 that you were supposed to do it?
So I've been saying I'm going to do a triathlon. Like, I really want to do an Ironman, and I've been saying it for like years and years and years now. So I run and I swim because I used to be on the swim team too when I was in school, but I don't bike. Like, I don't know how to ride a bike. And I keep saying I need to get into cycling, but I don't really have the urge to get into cycling. So that's kind of why I haven't done a triathlon yet. Like, I would really like to just do the Ironman just to say I did it, but I just don't want to cycle. Like, I have no desire to ride bikes.
Okay, so the race that you were going to do, it was just running and swimming, not the biking.
Well, I wanted to, and I had decided like I'm going to train for it and I'm going to start running, but it's running. So the triathlon, I think Ironman is 70.3 miles. It's a 2-mile swim, I think. And I know it's a marathon, so you have to run 26 miles. And I'm not sure how far you have to bike, but yeah. So,
no, I know that you're going to pick up on a bike quickly because...
Rose, I can't even ride a bike.
I promise you, it's not that hard. It is not hard at all.
You were supposed to be teaching me.
I know. 2020 was actually a great year for that because I don't do a lot of biking like in the streets and stuff. Like, I'm terrified to do that. But the streets were empty, like almost daily. We would go down to DC and we're riding around and empty, empty, empty. That was the perfect time to see the city on bike and not have to worry about cars and stuff like that. So that would have been a good year for us to learn, seriously.
Now we're gonna get hit by a car.
Right. So take us through your Grand Canyon experience. What did you have to do to train for it? Well, first, how did you even decide that this was something you wanted to do?
So a friend of mine who does a lot of like Spartan races and competes competitively in Spartan races DM'd me and was like, do you want to do an R2 R2R? And I'm like, what is that? I don't know what it is. What are you talking about? And then he started sending me pictures and I was just like, and explaining to me what it was, you know, the run at the Grand Canyon. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do that. No. So it took me like a week or two. And I was just like, my main thing, I don't know, I like challenges. So if I put it in my head that I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. And the main thing I was thinking, because it's a group doing it and these people are like really hardcore, like they compete competitively in like Spartan races and stuff. I'm just like, okay, if I do it, you know, I don't want to slow people down and all that. So I'm going to have to make sure I like really train because I'm always running. Yeah. But the longest race I ran up to then was a marathon on a road, and that's like on a trail. So it's like totally different training, totally different type of running. So it took me about a couple weeks and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So once I had it in my mind, I was going to do it. Then I was like, okay, now what do I have to do to train for it? So yeah. So,
well, so how far in advance did you start training?
So I think he hit me up in about, I think it was around May or June. And we were scheduled to do it in October. How many months is that? Like 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, like 4
And
months.
like I said, I was in shape because I was running, but I wasn't running nearly as many miles as I was going to. I probably ran 20 miles on a good week. I was trying to do like at least 100 miles a month, but that's not, you know, up to the type of running that I had to do to start training. So I tried to train myself. So I looked up training plans, trying to figure it out. I ended up running to a friend of my mom's at a party when I went home. He's like in his 70s and he used to be like an ultra runner. So we sat down and talked for a couple of hours and he's actually helped me like develop a training plan and what I need to do to like increase my mileage and stuff like that. So that was very helpful.
Oh, that's pretty cool though. I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. So he's like insane. Like when I met him, he was like, yeah, he's in his 70s. This man's in 70s. I didn't even know he was in his 70s because he looks great, because he's in great shape. He was like, yeah, I can run a sub 4 minute mile. Well, when he was in shape. And I just ran like a 5K yesterday, in like 20 something minutes. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be like you when I grow up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I started training in like June, seriously, probably.
And I saw like you would post a lot about what you were doing. And some of the more intense trainings I saw, you did what you guys affectionately call Godzilla. Yeah, that hill in Cunningham Falls Park.
Yeah. So I guess I should say what the Grand Canyon thing. So it's called rim to rim to rim. So basically you go from the north rim. You can start on either rim, north or south. So you go from the north rim to the south rim of the canyon. So you go down in the canyon, across the bottom and back up and then back. So that's what we were attempting to do. And in total, that's about 48 miles and about 11,000 feet in elevation gain going up on both sides. So we were trying to do, so with the Godzilla hill, I think it's about 500 feet just going once up. So we would do like repeats on that because we try to do like incorporate a lot of hill training because you have to get used to just going up for like miles and miles and miles and miles. But I was like running so much this summer because the guy that was helping me, he's like, well, you have to up your mileage. So you should just run twice a day. Wow. So in the middle of the summer, and it's like 90 something degrees, I'm running in the morning and running in the afternoon, like 3 days a week. And then on Saturday, I would do like a long run, which I guess my first long run started at say 10 miles. And then each week it would the mileage would increase. So it'd be like 10 miles, 12 miles, 14, 15, then go up to like 20 miles.
Yeah, yeah. I saw
Yeah.
that. I saw that. You would be in the 20s with your mileage. With your mileage, and you were very, very dedicated to it. Like even if it rains, anything, you'd still be out there.
I hated it. I was just like, I'm so sick of running. I'm so sick of running. But it's like I said I was gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it. And my main goal that kept me training is like it was at the end of the day, I think it was 7 or 8 of us, I can't remember, that went, and I was just like, I don't want to slow them down. Because it's like all these like trainers or like fitness instructors, they're like I said, compete competitively in the Spartan races. I'm like, I don't want them to slow them down. I don't want people to be waiting on me. So I gotta make sure I'm ready.
So you considered yourself the novice on the team to this type of activity.
Yeah. So I might have run more than people on the team, but I'm not really competitive. Like I don't compete and stuff like that. I run races, but I'm never like, oh, I'm trying to run a marathon in every state, or I'm trying to run this marathon. I would just like run a race if it came up and someone asked me to run a race. But like I'm always running just because it's what I do. But I never really had, most of the time I don't have a goal, like I'm training for this. I'm just running now.
Yeah, you run because like you said, that was just a part of your life.
Yeah.
So take us to the actual experience, like day one. When you got there, like what were you thinking as you traveled there? How were you feeling? Were you in a good mood?
So it was good. So the month before I did a 50K, which is 31 miles. And that was I was kind of like, if I can do this, then I can do that. So I did the 50K. I mean, it was hard, but I finished it. So once I finished that, it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence going into it. Yeah. So I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be. And the group of people I did it with were just so great. Everyone was so encouraging. Like everyone was training hard, and we would share like what we were doing for our training and all of that stuff. But I was very nervous because we were starting at like 3 a.m. And then it's like 30 degrees at 3 a.m, but then the temperature can go up like 50 degrees by the time you get to the to the bottom. Yeah. And it's in the dark. You don't know what's out there. I don't know what mountain lions. Right.
I mean,
all these black people. So the day before we meet, we're at the starting point just to get acquainted, to know where we're going to meet at that time. So it's like all these black people, and like all these people are coming up to us because we're like the only black people out there. Like, wow, what are you guys doing?
No, but I love that. I think that's great because y'all had on like matching shirts, right?
Yeah. So we got one of the guys that organized it got us all like t-shirts and stuff. Shout out to Black with Endurance. And yeah, so that the day before we were all out there, we put the t-shirts on so we could take pictures and stuff. And people were just coming up. It's like, oh, what are you guys about to go do? What are you guys? And then when we said what we were doing, everybody's like, wow. Because it's not something that many people do. The Grand Canyon Park Service, the park rangers basically discourage people from doing it. They're like, if you're going to do it, you shouldn't even say you're doing it, because they really, really discourage people from doing it because people get, dehydrated, have all kinds of health issues, and then they have to get them out of there. So
yeah. And then that's the thing. You don't know what might happen and what's going to be needed to get you out. But y'all didn't run into anything like that though, right?
No, it was good. Because once you get in, either you have to climb back out or they have to medevac you back out. And then the rangers were like, unless you're about to die, we're not going to medevac you out. Like, we'll come bring you stuff if you like sprain an ankle and stuff, but you're going to have to climb back out.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of the scariest parts. It's not like a race where you have an aid station every 5 miles. So you're like, oh, I get something to drink. This is cool. But we basically have to carry everything that we're going to need, for the whole entire time when we're out there. And we had someone waiting on the other side as well. So people can re-up. If people couldn't finish, then they can, go back with that person.
Okay, so you started at 3 a.m. So what was that like? You're on the trail and you're going.
It was was scary, but I had like a lot of adrenaline built up, and because it was so many of us, there were only two women, and the rest of them were men, and they kind of spaced us between them. So I felt safe. Like at no time did I ever feel unsafe. I definitely felt safe. And then there are a lot of people out there actually, because a lot of people do that or like camp down there. So you'll walk by campgrounds and stuff, but it's really dark. We're wearing headlamps. There's no lights. So basically the whole way down to the bottom, which is about 7 or 8 miles, we did it in the dark.
Wow. Yeah. So how long did that take y'all to get to the bottom?
I want to say we got to the bottom when the sun was coming up. So whenever sunrise was coming up, we were like, the sun started coming up when we got to the bottom.
So
I'm not sure how many hours. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably around like 6 or 7 o'clock. So around 7 o'clock is probably when we got down there. Yeah.
Oh, so at the bottom, like when did y'all take a break? Did y'all take any breaks?
So like we had one of the guys that was leading us, so he kind of had a schedule, like what pace we need to go, when we take breaks, how long we take breaks, and all that kind of stuff. So we did take breaks. So like I said, we had all our stuff on there. So any kind of water you might need. So I had like a hydration vest with like a water on my back and my front. And, I had a lot of gels and type of things that you use for longer races, and like sandwich and stuff like that, just like little snacks and stuff. We took a break at the bottom to like just we really only took breaks to get water or use the bathroom. So there were actual bathrooms down there because of all the campsites. Oh, so that was one thing. I didn't have to like find somewhere. There's really not that many trees out there.
Right.
Behind a rock or something. Trying to use the bathroom. So we were able to, so that's, I feel like, and then every time we stopped, he was like, okay, we have this amount of time. And he was just making us stay on schedule, which was good because, we only had a certain amount of time to get up and there and back. So yeah. But those are pretty much all the breaks we took. So it's not running the whole time. So it's like a run hike. So like going down, it was dark. We tried to run when we could, but it's really a narrow trail too. So I was kind of happy it was dark when we were going down because like, I felt like if it was light, then you can just see if you look over, you can just roll into the canyon. I was kind of happy that it was dark and I couldn't really see how far up we were.
That's a blessing right there. Seriously. Okay. So what was the weather like at the bottom?
It wasn't that hot. So before we got there, they were like, it could be like 30 at the top and like 90 degrees at the bottom. You never know what's going to happen. So it was about in the 70s, I think, at the bottom. So it wasn't that bad. I wore too much clothes because I was like, it's going to be 30 degrees. So it's going to be really cold. So I had on like long sleeve pants, a long sleeve shirt, jacket, all of that stuff. So I had on too many clothes. So it's like, as soon as we started, I started getting hot. Kind of sucked. Because I was like, I regretted it. I should just wear shorts. Yeah. Because I was hot for the rest of the time. Yeah. I know. And I was sweating. So it sucked. Yeah.
Well, thank goodness it was only 70 degrees because, you hit Grand Canyon and it can get hot, like you said. Okay, so y'all got to the bottom, you took your bathroom breaks and all of that, and now you start climbing to the top. How did that go?
It sucked. It was so bad. So it's like I don't remember how many miles it is across because it runs. The Colorado River runs through the Grand Canyon. So, you have to go over the bridge and cross the river. I think it's like 3 or 4 miles across. I can't remember. But it's like 9 miles straight up. It was so bad. It was so bad. And that's where we were all together at kind of when we started going up. And that's when we kind of started like separating.
Yeah.
And it was, at first it wasn't that bad. Maybe the first few miles, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. I mean, we weren't running straight uphill because it's probably about like 7,000 feet straight up. So we weren't running, we were just hiking. But probably like the last 3 or 4 miles, I was just like, I can't possibly still be going. Like, how much further do we have to go? And like, you would pass people coming down, like going hiking, passing you. They're like, oh, you're good. You're almost there.
Oh, that's good.
No. And then one guy was, because people run it. Like, people run the whole thing. And then one guy was running and he passed me and he's like, "Oh, you're doing good." And I'm like, "Yeah, people keep saying it's almost there." But he was like, "Yeah, but it's like one hell of a climb. It's like, it sucks going up. It doesn't matter if you're almost there."
Right. I just can't even imagine because, I've seen Godzilla, the one in Maryland, and that to me is intimidating. So I know this 7,000 feet up, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and so there's the guy who has the record. His name is Jim Walmsley. He's like a professional ultra runner. So he has the record. I think he's done it in around 5 hours. He both ways. So he ran to one side and ran to the other side, 48 miles in 5 hours. He was out there.
Oh, he was there.
So because he lives out there. So he trains a lot out there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, he was out there. And the other guys in the group were like, I think I saw him just run past us. We're like trekking, and he's just like, he's running faster up the canyon, and I run straight on the road.
That's awesome, though. You got to see him. Well, you didn't see him, but someone else saw the legend.
No, I follow him on Strava, and then I looked on Strava, and I was like, wait, because he records all his runs on there. I was like, he was out there when we were out there, and a couple of guys were like, yeah, I think I saw him pass us.
That is
I was looking for him. Kind of like obsessed with him a little bit. I was looking for him.
So that's what y'all did. Y'all did you did rim to rim and then back again, right?
So I was supposed to do rim to rim to rim, but I only did rim to rim. So I ended up doing, by the time I made it to the other rim, it was just like I wanted to go back, but there was a group in front of me that got up to the top before I got up to the top, and they were probably like 30 minutes ahead of me, and they were ready to go back down. And I'm not gonna hold them up waiting for me, because I needed to rest, refuel, probably change some of my clothes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then at the rate I was going, by the time it would have probably took me over 20 hours to do it.
Oh, so
I was just like, yeah, it would have probably took me over 20 hours to do both crossings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was just like, no, I'll just go back in the car.
So the group that was ahead of you those were people that were within your group.
Yeah, because we got spread out going up. So we were all like spread out. And then the group that got up there before me, they were like 30 minutes ahead of me. So yeah. I would have liked to, I'd have been out there for like 24 hours.
So this took you how many hours?
Oh my God, I can't remember. It was like, I can't remember, maybe 8, 9?
I feel like it was 8. I feel like it was 8 hours.
Yeah. But the whole thing is on the up, so the hill, we climbed up the north rim, and supposedly it's like a lot steeper than the other side. I mean, the other side, you would still have to go like 7 or 8 miles up, but it's not as supposedly steep, but it's still a lot.
So next time, maybe you'll start on the other side. She's like, next time.
That's what one of the other guys like, we'll come back next time and just do the one crossing the other way. And then we can say we did both instead of going back the whole time back and forth.
Right.
I mean, I feel like things like that, it was nice to have the group out there, and I feel like I need to do it by myself. But I can't do it by myself because I'm not going out there at night. It's not safe for a woman. But I just like doing, I don't like running in groups. I don't like running with people. I just like to do it by myself. I can go my own pace. Mm-hmm. Like when I did that 50K, I was basically by myself the majority of the time I was out there. And I was fine. So I go my own pace, do what I want to do. I don't have to worry about slowing people down. I don't have to wait for people if they're slowing me down, and I can just do it. But something like that, I'd be too scared to do by myself. I don't know, if something happens to me. Like we had a satellite radio because once you get in, there's like no service or anything like that. So even driving close to there, when we were driving, it took us 3 or 4 hours to drive back to the other side again.
Oh, wow.
Because there's like no way to go straight across. You have to go around. And there was like no service almost on the whole drive back over there.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like quite an experience, and I'm sure you're happy that you got to do it.
Yeah. But now it got me ready because now I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna do next? So
That's just what I was about to ask you. What is next?
so this year, what I would like to do. So I don't know. I have a lot of friends that do like a lot of marathons and stuff throughout the year, but I don't want to be training all year. So I'm like, I'm gonna pick like 2 or 3 big races, and that's what I'm gonna train for, and that's what I want to do. So in September, I'm planning on doing another 50K. So that's another 31 miles on the. It's a trail race, not on the road. And then I want to do a 50-mile race.
Oh, like a regular race on the road.
Yeah, so it's a trail race, but it's an actual like sanctioned race. Like this wasn't a race; it was just a bunch of Black people getting together and going in the Grand Canyon, like an actual race. So I'm looking at maybe doing the JFK 50 miler. That's in November. But there's also a race in South Africa that I am thinking about doing in December.
Oh, that would be.
And it's on Tabletop Mountain. I've never been to South Africa. I was watching it this December when people were competing in it, and I was like, oh, I should do that.
Yeah, I think you should do it. And I'll come and cheer you on because I would love to go to South Africa. I was so excited about the thing you were going to do at National Harbor, the swimming and the running. Yeah, that was the one that got canceled. I had it on my calendar and everything. I was like, I'm gonna go out there and cheer her on.
I need to start back swimming again and get back into swimming. It's so hard. It's hard to find, like when they have duathlons, which are 2 sports, it's usually swimming and biking. They don't really have a lot of swimming and running. So it's hard to find races where it's just like those 2 events.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get back into swimming more. I've been falling off on my swimming.
Yeah, because you used to swim in an indoor pool, right? Like it was just in the summertime.
Yeah, and I actually enjoy swimming more than I do running. It's just running is more convenient.
And I imagine swimming is like less stress on your knees and things like that. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this experience. You know, it's for some people, it's something that they will never do. And for you, I hope that you decide to do the other side.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of different things that I want to conquer. My mom was just like, next time, just do something more safe. You don't need to do that again. You've already done it. You don't need to do that out there.
I understand, Mom. I understand. She don't want to have to worry about you, especially because you're talking about, oh, I need to do it by myself.
Yeah, but I would be too scared to go down there by myself with like no communication, how it is. So, but I would probably prefer to do it by myself.
Well, I'll come to Vegas. I'll wait for you to come back.
Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
I have not. I've only been to Hoover Dam, but not to Grand Canyon.
Well, you need to go. It's so amazing.
That's what I hear. There was a time when Darren and we talked about, you know, traveling domestically and going to see all those types of things. Like I've never seen Mount Rushmore or anything like that. Yellowstone Park. I definitely want to get there. I hear it's so beautiful. And I just don't hear that many Black people going to stuff like that. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that they don't. Of course, I'm not tapped into that community. But I think it would be, you know, it would be nice to go with a group of people to experience that.
You definitely should. It's like, it's beautiful. It's kind of like, the first time I went whitewater rafting at the bottom. So like you're at the bottom and everything is above you. And it's just like, I feel like I'm in a movie. Like, this is so surreal. But yeah.
That sounds really beautiful.
You guys, and you don't have to hike all the way to the bottom and cross.
I'm a ride. Don't they have like the donkey rides down to the bottom?
So a lot of people that they camp at the bottom, the donkeys will take their stuff down for them, so they don't have to carry their stuff. The mules, yeah. Gotcha. And then they'll hike it down to the bottom. But you don't have to hike all the way to the bottom. They have camping sites at different lengths down. Okay. Yeah, but it's really, really hard to get. You have to reserve them. You have to reserve it like a year in advance.
That
Yeah,
takes
they fill
planning.
up quick. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
They fill up quick unless you get someone that like can't use it and wants to give it to you. Yeah, you got to reserve it really early.
All right. Well, thank you again and have a great evening.
You too. I'm about to walk Princess and go to bed.
Yes, go to bed. You deserve it. Good night.